Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Texas, and today, there's so much today. So Stampin' Up! Has made a few announcements this week, plus a special collection of merchandise of Stampin' Up! Stamps and papers and things is now available to customers. And so some of this is from the upcoming January to June 2022 mini catalog. In fact, let me just show that to you real quick. So this is the Eden's Garden collection. The stamps and the dies will be in the mini catalog that's released in January. But these papers, the designer series paper, the cotton paper, and the gems are only available while supplies last or until January 3rd, I believe. Let me double check that real quick. Yes, January 3rd. So you can buy the entire collection now, and that is $82. Or you can get the bundle now or later, or you can buy the individual items now. But just be aware that the papers and the gems will not be available after January 3rd. So the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Paper Pumpkin. I love Paper Pumpkin. You probably hear me talk about it a lot if you watch my videos. But right now, Stampin' Up! Has released 3. Let me show them to you. So these 3 kits were released earlier this year. These are all from spring of 2021. So these kits, if you purchase them now, you can get all 3 of them together for $28.50, and they each include the supplies to make the cards you see in this picture, including stamps and ink. So you will get 3 stamp sets and 3 little ink spots, plus all of the cardstock and bling and string. So that is a fantastic deal. It is only available to Paper Pumpkin subscribers. So if you want to check Paper Pumpkin out, now would be a great time because you could subscribe, get this month's kit, and then go ahead and order those 3 kits all in one. And I will add the link. Let me make myself a note. I will add a link to Paper Pumpkin, and I'll also add a link to this special buy. So if you do decide to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, it's not a commitment of any certain length. You can subscribe for 1 month and see how you like it and keep going. And if you really just don't like it, which would surprise me, then you can cancel at any time. Okay, so I saved the best promotion for last. I'm telling you, this is an exciting week in my Stampin' Up! World. So the last thing is the starter kit. So Stampin' Up! Has discounted the starter kit. It's normally $99 in the US, and you get $125 worth of product. This month, starting today and running through the end of November, we are still in 2021. If you're watching a rerun of this later, a replay, but the starter kit is discounted to $75 for this month only. And the best thing about the starter kit is that you get to pick the items. So this is just an example of what you can get in your kit. This is the stamp set we're going to be using today, by the way, is this Words of Cheer. In fact, all of these, except the grid paper, I'm not going to use that because it does weird things with the video. But normally I use grid paper every time I stamp. So all of these things are going to be used to create the card we're working on today, and you can get them all when you join for only $75. This is $125 worth of product. So that is an amazing deal, but what is even more amazing is if you don't want those things, or if you already have them, you can pick whatever you want. That was just something I put together, but you can put together your own kit, which I think is amazing. So, and another good thing about joining is when you do sign up, you get a free paper pumpkin kit in your starter kit. So that would be another great way to check out Paper Pumpkin. It's not a subscription. It's just one kit, and it won't be the current one. You also get free shipping. So, I mean, the Jills just keep coming whenever you sign up with Stampin' Up. And then you get your discount after that. So if you have any questions about signing up, let me know. I would love to have you join my team. And I'd love to answer your questions about signing up, or the Eden's Garden set, or anything else. Okay, so it's Friday, and that means we're doing a card from the catalog. And I'm going back to the mini catalog. We're going to be doing this fun shaker card here. This is from the back of the mini catalog. It's on page 66. And like I said before, it's using the Words of Cheer bundle. So, I'm trying to think if I'm cutting. I will be cutting a little bit out with the die cuts, but I've already cut out quite a bit. Let me flip my camera around and I will show you what I've already cut out. So I put them in a little container. I was messing around last night. So this is the Subtle Shimmer Sequins. And then I've used the Christmas Cheer die that comes in the bundle. And I used this one, that one. That one just makes these little dots. Let's see if I can find one. So it just makes these little dots. I used the stars. So these stars are smaller and they have holes in them. And then these are just a little bit bigger. And it cuts out 3 at a time. This is this one here. Also cuts 3 at a time. And then these leaves, some of them I've snipped and some of them I haven't. It cuts out like 6 at a time. So that's handy. It's a lot faster. So those are the ones I've already pre-cut, and I don't even know how many I did. I think probably around 12 or 15 of each. So, and then probably 2 strips of those little bitty circles would be my guess. And then I just kept adding sequins until I was happy with how it looked. Probably 3 pinches of the sequins. And the sequins come in a little container like this. So I would just grab like 3 pinches like that and add them to it. Okay, so let's start stamping. Put those up. I'm going to put the lid on it so I don't spill them everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to get out the Whisper White. Now, I'm just using my silicone sheet today for no special reason. It's just here and handy. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab this big stamp from the Words of Cheer stamp set. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to stamp it 4 times on the front of this card. Make sure my card is opening the right way. I want to make sure this dries pretty quick, so I'm going to use my heat tool. It's not necessary. You could put it aside and do all this die cutting and stuff, but since I've already done it, I'm going to hurry my drying process up a bit. And I've made this card a couple of times now, and there's no right or wrong way to stamp this stamp. I'm moving it every time, and that's the main goal. You don't want to have it perfectly lined up and symmetrical. So just change it up a little. I did leave a big gaping hole this time in the middle, but that's all right. All right, so give me just a second to dry this. Okay, that should be good enough. I'm gonna take, let's see, what do I have on my desk? Here we go. I'll use hand sanitizer. I'm just gonna clean the ink off of my silicone sheet real quick. That way I've got it handy. Okay, and now we're gonna cut the frame. So I'm a little bit nervous about this because this is difficult. Not everybody finds it difficult, but I find it a little challenging. So I have a sheet of Evening Evergreen cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. And what I'm gonna do is put my blade down at 4 1/4 inches. Whoa. So I've got my sheet lined up at 1/4 inch on this side. I'm putting my blade down at 4 1/4 inches, and I'm cutting all the way down to 1/4 inch. Don't know if you can see that. Then I'm going to turn it. I'm going to line this edge up with 1/4 inch again. And then I'm pulling all the way down to 1/4 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and go back up and see if I can hit that 3. Whoop. Yep, I went too far. That's why I say I'm not very good at this. I have a tendency to go a little under and then I go a little over. So real slow, I'm going to try to hit that groove and then come down to 1/4 inch again. I'm going to turn it, line it up with that 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to, got it pretty close that time, and then all the way down to 1/4. Felt like I hit it. There we go. So there's our frame. So I'm going to show you another option. So here's another piece of the Evening Evergreen cardstock, and I'm going to pull out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I've got to use the big one because I'm using bigger dies. Okay, so let me get my base plate, plate 2 and plate 3. I'm gonna put my cardstock here. And then these are rectangle stitched framelits. So I'm using the 2nd to largest and the 4th largest. So I skipped one. And I'm lining them up. I'm locking them down. They look fairly even. So now I'm just going to run it through. This frame will be a little larger than the one that I just cut, but it'll still work, I think. I haven't actually tried this for this card. I've done it for other cards before, but not for this one. Let's see how that turned out. Sorry, I keep knocking my camera just a little bit. Oh, everything is squeaky, isn't it? Okay, so that we don't need. This is the one I cut with the trimmer, and this is the one underneath it is the one that I cut. So you can see they're just a little bit bigger. The inside is about the same. It's just the outside of the frame. This edge here is just a skosh wider. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch on each side. Maybe an 1/8. It's not much though. I don't think it's an 1/8. I think it's a 1/16. So I think I'm going to use this one. I really like the way that turned out. And it just bothers me a little bit when I get these extra little cuts, and you can barely even see. Look, it's not that big a deal. And I could cover it up with some of those leaves. Oh, that one's perfect. Never mind. And that one's almost perfect. So yeah, I'll probably save that and go ahead and use it for another card later, because it did turn out pretty good. And then look, you can save the insides to do some of your die cutting with or make another card with, especially this rectangle, because it's stitched too. Pretty cool. Okay, so now what we need is our window sheet. And I have not cut it yet because I wasn't sure which one of these I was going to use. I'm hoping I have, yeah, I need to order more of this. I didn't realize how much I had used already. All right, so for this one, I'm going to cut it to 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/2. There's 3 1/4. 4 1/2, and mine has evidently picked up all kinds of things. It's kind of staticky, so I'm going to use a microfiber towel, and I'm just using hand sanitizer because it's on my desk and it's handy. And I'm just going to wipe all of this off of here. I'm going to do both sides. Takes care of any fuzz or fingerprints that my window sheet has picked up. And here's a tip. So when you get your photopolymer stamps, they come attached to these window sheets. So you can clean them off because they'll have some like sticky residue on them probably. But you can use a microfiber towel and just hand sanitizer and wipe all of that off. And then you can use those sheets if you would like to make shaker cards. Now that looks a lot better. Okay, so where did I put my frame? Here's my frame. I'm going to go ahead and glue this frame to the window sheet. And I'm just using, you can use liquid glue. You can also use Stampin' Seal. Or even tear and tape. There we go. So I'm going to use these foam strips on the back of this. So I'm just eyeballing how long is it. Actually, I'm not just eyeballing, I'm actually sticking it to this frame. And then using the scissors to cut the end. I'm not using my paper snips because I don't want those to get all sticky. But you could, and then just clean them off with something like Glue Gone. Glue Gone? Goo Gone, not Glue Gone. All right, so now I see I have made an oops, because how am I going to get all of that stuff to stay in there? I know what I'll do. So I'm just going to pile all of my inside shaker bits Just going to pile it up on the middle of the card. And this is a lot of shaker bits. You might not need to use quite as much as I'm using. Oh yeah, that's good. But did you see how all of that just stuck to the top because of the static? So this next part is totally optional. But let me show you a little trick to get rid of all that static. And also to help keep the sides from being super sticky so that all your shaker bits don't get stuck in your adhesive. So I borrowed another one of these little glass jars from my daughter. She uses them to make ink in for her calligraphy, and I put baby powder, it's just cornstarch, in here. And I'm just gonna, whoa, that was a little much. So I'm gonna brush the edges first. And I still have the tape, the top of the tape on here. Yeah, that was a little crazy. So I don't want all that white to be shown on there. So I'm gonna go back with that microfiber towel again and just wipe some of that off out of the center, but I'm gonna leave it on the edges around the adhesive. So I did this last night and it worked great, but I might have gotten carried away just now. Do you keep hand sanitizer on your desk like I do? I would like to say that that is just like a COVID thing, but I've always kept hand sanitizer on my desk. I think part of it is it helps to cut grease. So if you just touch something greasy like potato chips, not saying I've done that, just saying, you know, you could. Then you don't have to get up and wash your hands every time. Okay, let's see. Much better, much better. And look, see, it's not just flying up there and sticking now. Okay, so now I'm going to take this tape off the back, dropped it right in my pile. I don't want to include that inside my card though, so I think we'll just grab it and throw it away. Okay, so I'm going to center this up on here. Make sure these stars are tucked in. Wow, I really filled that pool. So it's centered pretty well. I'm gonna stick it down. And woo, it almost doesn't even shake, it's so full. Let's see if we can get some of that unstuck. There it goes. Mostly. Got a little carried away. Yeah, definitely don't put quite as much in your shaker card as I just did. But, you know, I was worried about that empty spot in the middle, so that kind of works out because you definitely cannot see that now. Okay, so the next step to this card is I'm going to actually use the hand sanitizer on my hands because I have powder on my hands now and I keep getting it on that green. Okay, so I'm going to pull out the Big Shot again, and I'm going to get some soft, succulent cardstock. This is just a scrap, and I'm going to grab a scrap of basic white. I think that's long enough. That should work. Okay. So this, I think this part is super fun. So I'm going to get my happy outline and my happy inside. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and grab these dots too. And I'm going to grab another scrap of basic white. Okay. Getting the stamp cut and emboss machine. And getting my base plate, my number 2 plate, my number 3 plate. And I want this bigger outline happy to go on this soft succulent. Then I want this smaller happy to go on the white. And then I'm going to use this strip of dots on this long skinny piece of basic white. And then I'm going to take my top plate and make a sandwich out of all my dies and my cardstock and just run that through. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to reposition that long skinny one and pull these off. Don't need those anymore. Oh, look, that's not happened to me before. They're all stuck inside. So I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool, which if you don't have one of these, I truly think you need them. This sucker's handy for so many things, but one of those things is just poking out dies when they get stuck inside of the die cut. How easy is that? And you know what? I don't need to do another one of these. That's plenty because I already filled up my inside. So yeah, we're golden. Let's just clean all this up. That handy thing put to the side. Ooh, my dots ended up everywhere after all. Okay. So I put them on that green so I can see them easier. I'm going to get that mat out again. When I bought this, I had no idea how much I was actually going to use it. Turns out, a lot. Same thing for my Take Your Pick tool. Okay, so I'm just poking out these, some of these little bits and pieces didn't pop out. So I'm just poking those out. And then I'm going to use my liquid glue to attach the smaller white happy to the larger green happy, the soft succulent happy. Forgot to take the lid off. So I use that sticky end on a dry spot to pick it up, and then I can turn it over easy without getting glue all over my fingers. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that liquid glue again. And where there's these little dots, can you see how some of these end in just little dots? So everywhere there's a little dot like that, I'm going to put a little dab of glue. I'm not going to do them all at once. I'll do a few. I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on here. Then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to pick up these little dots that we cut out. And I can use the tool to position them. And sometimes, yep, I just got like a hint of liquid glue on the end of my Take Your Pick tool here, on the pointy end. And now it's real easy to pick these up and drop them back down. shouldn't have said it was easy. There we go. So it took me a little bit to figure out what these dots were actually for. Thank goodness for copying the catalog every once in a while. There's exactly enough dots when you use the strip once to cover all these dots sticking out of the happy. So I think that they were meant for this. Or it was just a happy coincidence. But either way, we're going to say it was meant to do it, and it's perfect. Unless you lose a dot. Then it's not perfect, but it's not that big a deal because you can just run it through again. You can see I really am not using much glue on this at all. Just tiny little dots, but it will be plenty to stick these on here. They won't be falling off. But even if I did get too much glue, it would be okay because they're on the silicone mat. And so I'll just be able to clean it off really easily and move on. Gonna add just a little bit more glue though to this here because I think I knocked most of it off. There we go. And perfection. There we go. There's our happy. Somehow I just found a dot on me. I don't know where that one even came from. Maybe it was a bonus. So I'm going to, before I get ahead of myself, so I'm grabbing just this piece that we cut out. And I'm going to get my soft succulent ink and the holidays stamp from the same stamp set. I'm just going to stamp that right here on the happy. And then I'm going to use my paper snips, because that's what paper snips are for, is to cut paper. And I'm just going to cut around this holidays. Then I'm going to use my glue again. I'm going to attach this piece to the front of that frame. There we go, and then I'm going to use the glue again. Right here. And, oh, I almost did that upside down. That would have been a disaster. I always hate it when I get to the very end of the card and then I do something silly like glue it upside down, but it's usually fixable. It's usually not that big a deal. Like if I really had just glued it upside down, I would have just stamped it again on another sheet and then glued it right side up over the upside down one. No problems at all. Okay, so for the inside of this card, I think I'm going to stamp happy wishes to you and yours. That's not what that is, though. That's what this is. And I'm going to use the green, or soft succulent. I like the name of all of Stampin' Up's colors, but sometimes when you're just using a couple of colors, it's just faster to say the shorter word. Okay, so there's happy wishes to you and yours. And then I'm going to take that white again. And this big one. And then I'm just going to stamp this very lightly because it's white. Down here on the corner. I'm stamping off. I'm not going to cover up the whole thing. Just mainly getting those flowers. Look at that. I dropped it. It's okay. It's white on white and it wipes right off. Okay. So what do you think? I'm not going to close this yet because that ink is very dry. But there's our card from the catalog, and it pretty much is exactly like the catalog. The only change we made was using the stitched rectangle dies for the frame instead of cutting it with a trimmer. But you do know how to do that now, so you can cut it with a trimmer if you would like, if you don't have the dies. And then here's the inside. So pretty. I love this so much. This has been on my list of cards to make ever since this catalog came out, even before then, because as a demonstrator you get to see all of the goodies and even order them usually, or at least some of them, before the catalog is released. So just another perk of signing up. If you're thinking about it, let me know. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and are enjoying some fall weather wherever you are. Happy stamping!